All right, we've all been there, right? Polishing up the resume, crafting that perfect cover letter, and then just firing it off into the abyss. But what if I told you that whole system, it's just broken, especially now? So yeah, let's get into it. Why the old rule book for hiring is totally out of date, and what the fix actually looks like.
For the longest time, the job world was pretty simple. It was split into these two tidy little buckets. You were in one or you were in the other. And how you got hired? Well, that all came down to which bucket you were in.
And here it is, the classic showdown, blue collar versus white collar. If you were looking for a blue collar job, hands-on stuff like construction or retail, the whole process was local and it was fast. We're talking local job boards, a pretty informal process, and boom, you were hired in less than 25 days on average. But white collar jobs? Oh, that was a whole different ballgame. Think LinkedIn, endless rounds of intense interviews, and the process, it could stretch out for an average of 42 days, a real marathon.
So, it was a system that kind of made sense. It was straightforward, everyone knew the rules. But here's the twist. That very simplicity is now its biggest weakness. That neat little framework, it is completely useless for tackling the huge hiring headache that pretty much every company is dealing with today.
Okay, so if that old blue-collar, white-collar line has been erased, what's taken its place? Well, it's something bigger, faster, and it's affecting way more businesses than you'd ever guess.
Get ready, because we are now in the era of high-volume recruitment, and I'm not exaggerating here. We're talking about companies needing to fill thousands, literally thousands of jobs, and they need them filled yesterday. This isn't your typical holiday hiring rush anymore. Nope, it's a non-stop, high-stakes game.
And look, this isn't some tiny niche issue. Research from Aptitude found that a whopping 65% of companies are dealing with this. Think about that. That's almost 2/3 of all businesses out there. High-volume hiring isn't the exception anymore, it's the rule.
Okay, now this is where we bust a huge myth. Because when I say high-volume hiring, your brain probably jumps straight to retail cashiers or delivery drivers, right? Well, take a look at this list. We are talking about major white-collar industries: aerospace and defense, tech, finance, healthcare. These are not hourly jobs. These are skilled positions, and these industries are desperate to hire at a massive scale.
So the situation is pretty clear. Companies are under immense pressure to hire tons of people fast. But there's a problem. There's this giant hole in the hiring pipeline, and potential candidates are just pouring out. Let's pinpoint exactly where this leak is.
Right here. This is it. The single biggest reason it's all falling apart. It's not the interview stage. It's not the salary negotiation. It's the application. A mind-boggling 43% of candidates just give up right there. They never even make it through the front door. I mean, think about it. Companies are losing almost half their potential hires before they've even had a chance to talk to them.
So what's making everyone jump ship so early? Well, the data shows it's basically a three-way tie for first place. 47% just found another job. Why? Because the process was taking forever. 46% said see ya because the whole experience was just bad. And 44% bailed once they saw the salary. But here's the really important part. 2 out of those 3 reasons, they are 100% things a company can actually fix.
And if you're wondering what poor candidate experience looks like, here's the smoking gun. 1 in 3 companies admit their own application takes longer than 30 minutes. 30! In today's world, that's an eternity. Can you imagine? It's no surprise people are just closing the tab and moving on.
This massive drop-off rate, it points to a much bigger, more fundamental problem with how we do things. It's not just that the application is too long. It's about what the application is built around in the first place.
And what's that? It's this one single document, the resume. The whole traditional hiring machine is built to process resumes. We've been conditioned to believe that your degree, your past job titles, that these are the crystal ball for predicting how you'll perform. But check out this quote from Alp Consulting. Relying so heavily on resumes doesn't just screen out perfectly good candidates, it actually leads to costly, painful mishires.
Okay, so if the resume is a broken tool, and it really is, especially when you're hiring at scale, then what do we do? What's the alternative? How do you find the right person for the job, and do it quickly and effectively?
The answer is actually pretty simple, but it requires a huge mental shift. We need to stop hiring for a history on a piece of paper and start hiring for what someone can actually do.
And this approach has a name. It's called a skills-based assessment. The idea is so simple, but it's totally revolutionary. Stop asking people to tell you about their experience and start asking them to show you their skills. It's all about putting them in a situation they'd actually face on the job and seeing how they handle it.
And look, putting this into practice isn't rocket science. It really comes down to 3 things. 1, you gotta know exactly what skills the job requires. No more vague job descriptions. 2, use a test that's tailor-made for that specific role. We're not talking about those generic "what kind of tree are you" quizzes. And 3, you have to invest in a good platform that makes the whole thing easy and, dare I say, enjoyable for everyone involved.
Let me give you a really clear example. Your resume might say proficient in inventory management. Okay, what does that even mean, really? But a skills test? It could drop you into a simulation of a warehouse and say, okay, organize this stock. See the difference? One just claims a skill, the other proves it on the spot.
And the payoff for doing this? It's massive. First off, your talent pool just exploded. You're now looking to people with incredible skills who just didn't have that perfect resume. The people you do hire, they're going to perform better because you've already seen them in action. And since they're a great fit, they're happier, more engaged, and way more likely to stick around. It's a win-win-win.
So, we've looked at the old, broken way of doing things and the promise of a much, much better way. What's the big idea? What's the one thing you should walk away with?
It's this. For too long, we've been playing the wrong game. We turned hiring into a contest to find the prettiest resume. But the goal was never to find the best resume, it's to find the best person for the job. And that simple shift in thinking changes everything.
So I'll leave you with this final thought, a question you should really ask yourself. Think about your company's hiring process or even the last job you applied for. Was that process built to find the best resume, or was it built to find the best person? Because the answer to that question, well, that's everything.